All right, so apparently, well, I'm not stranded, but uh, I am kind of out of commission right now, basically. Um, and I just got up early because I just had a maintenance guy come out here to pretty much try to fix my tire, which originally we thought it was just the valve stem, but he took the tire off just now and replaced the valve stem, which it was leaking, but after he put the new valve stem inside the tire, it was still leaking. So it looks like, according to him, something is wrong with the actual rim itself, causing it to leak. If you look right here, I'm showing that my the right side, the right tire, or the right steer tire, you can see it right here. The PSI is low. So while technically I can still physically drive, if DOT catches me with a tire like that, I can get fined. I can get put out of service, and so we've got to figure out. We've got to basically. I mean, I don't have to. The company has to do it. Basically, get a new rim or tire, basically, because that tire just out of nowhere just started leaking for no reason. It wasn't doing that, so before I can move, I got to get that taken care of. So luckily, I'm kind of ahead of schedule, so I have until I got all day today and up until about 1:47 this morning. So I'm going to just take a 34-hour reset. That way, I'll get pretty much I will get that's going to reset to like 70, and I'll have a fresh cycle time, and I'll still have time to get to my delivery on time, as long as we get this done today, and I'm able to leave around 1:47, 2 o'clock a.m. tomorrow morning. I should be good still. So got a little bit of cushion, so it's kind of inconvenient, but it's not it ain't the end of the world. That's why it's always good if you do drive to kind of try to be ahead of time, in case stuff like this happens. But again, I did just have a technician came out, took the tire off, and he repaired this valve stem, but it was coming from the actual the rim itself is defective somehow. And then on top of that as well, for some reason, my ABS light keeps coming on. So it's probably got something to do with the trailer. They're going to look at that as well. These are all fairly new things. These are just things that just, it's supposed to go back out, but it's not. It's staying on. And so, these are all fairly new things that just happened like yesterday. Like, these things weren't going on. But, I mean, the company takes care of it, but if I was an owner operator, these are all expenses that would have to come out of my pocket. So, I mean, that's one of the benefits of driving for a company, is having them basically, take care of all that stuff. But, if you're an owner operator, you get more profit. You get, take more of the profit of what the load pays, but you take on more expenses when it comes to repairs and things like fuel and maintenance and tires and stuff like that. So it's a give take kind of thing, but you get a bigger reward depending on how much you make. You keep more profit, but you take on more expenses. So and I do plan on becoming an owner operator, which means basically having my own truck at some point, even if it's through a company. I do plan on, just because life's too short to not take risk. I just want to make sure that I'm ready when I do it. It is a risk. Like I said, a lot of the biggest things with guys that do owner operating is, when those repairs start coming, they just, they don't have enough money saved up to where they can handle those repairs and just the general maintenance and the cost of driving for yourself. Fuel costs a lot. You can easily spend $1,000 going to and from, one place, depending on how far it is. So, I mean, just something to think about. But like I said, I just want to personally get more experience. But at some point in the future, I do see myself, it's a little bit more freedom. You do have a little bit more say. And, like I said, life's too short not to take risk. Like I said, it's more risk, but there's more reward if you do it right. I'm gonna get wrong. You can still make good money, driving for companies as well. I mean, you can do a lease operator program, which is kind of the same thing, where you work for a company and lease a truck. A lot of places do that, but I'm just kind of filling everything out. I do like the idea of being more independent. But at the same time, too, you have to be good at managing money and managing expenses. And, you have to put money aside for repairs and stuff like that. Just because you make a lot of money, you got to still manage it well to where when stuff does happen, and it will happen, you're ready for it and, you're prepared, And so it's a mistake a lot of people make is a lot of that money starts coming in, they get happy, they start spending, and then when something happens, all that money you made can be gone in like a day, depending on the repair. A new engine for a truck can be like 50 grand, 60 grand on a good day, I mean, it's just, semi trucks are not cheap at all, but they can make you a lot of money. So, wow, that guy has a really, really bent rim. Holy shit. See that? That shit is bent as fuck. God damn, bro. Anyway. Whatever. But yeah, I'm about to walk around and get some exercise. Because I didn't really walk around yesterday because I got distracted with all that was going on with the, the leaking tire and now the ABS light, so now I gotta, hopefully they find me a rim and get this, resolved before my reset's over, because I'm really trying to finish up this trip and get these miles in so I can have a, halfway decent check coming up here, because I'm supposed to be headed toward the house after this trip right here. So, I gotta go get my dog, because he'll be with me here soon after I head back to the house. And I got to do a few more things, like, I got to get some covers for the seats and stuff like that, and send some information to the safety coordination team, because to bring him in here with me, I got to do a bunch of other little shit I got to do. So, but yeah, Mojo, he'll be in here with me soon. I got to find a really good vacuum, because he can shed a lot sometimes, and kind of get him situated in here. So when I head back out, he's good, because he'll be with me here, like I said, after I get back to the house in a couple days or whatever. So little stuff like I say, this is trucking, man. I mean, shit happens. You're gonna have breakdowns. You're gonna have inconvenient shit happen. It is what it is. Like I said, luckily this time, I have a little bit of cushion to get to my delivery on time still, and hopefully they get it figured out by today. I mean, it's Sunday, so I don't know who's open today, but hopefully, they find somebody so I can get up out of here and finish up this trip. But, you're going to have things happen. You're going to have good weeks. You're going to have bad weeks. It's just shit you can't control. It's hot. It's really, really hot out here. When it gets hot, shit starts to expand and break and, fail when it gets hot. Metal and rubber and all kind of other shit starts fucking up. Then when it gets cold, really cold, shit starts fucking up too. So, I mean, that's just the nature of, anything mechanical, just when the temperature changes from one extreme to the next, shit just starts acting weird and breaking and fucking up. So, I mean, like I said, it's trucking. Like I said, you're going to make some money, but you're going to also probably lose some money. The good thing about it is, again, the company takes on those costs when, you work for a company. Usually, they're supposed to at least. But, like I said, your owner operator, you're going to take some losses depending on how bad the repair is. You're going to take some losses. But you're going to also have some big wins too, depending on how you run and stuff like that. So, if the math is math and then it makes sense, hopefully you take more, wins and losses. But either way, you're going to take wins and losses, especially in driving trucks, when shit breaks down and you lose a load or some bullshit like that. Shit gets canceled. I had a load a couple days ago. And I drove down there, but apparently when I got there, the load was already picked up by somebody else. And I'm just like, well, why the fuck am I here? I called dispatch. They were like, well, somebody else got it. I'm like, okay, well, y'all sent me here. That's why I'm here. But, I mean, you have weird shit like that happen. I don't even know how the fuck that happened, but apparently communication was lost or something. And, I don't know. But they sent me somewhere else where I had a similar amount of miles, so I mean it's all good. I was supposed to go to Rocky Mountain, but they changed it to me going to Georgia. So the miles were like similar, maybe like 100-mile difference, maybe. So I had around the same amount of miles for the delivery. So I mean it all worked out. But it's just this weird shit like that happens. It's just like okay. But something similar happened to my trainer when I was training. We went to a place for, I think it was a pickup, and we got there and they were like, oh yeah, you don't have an appointment. And I'm like, well, we definitely had an appointment according to the tablet. And we got there and they were like, no, you guys don't have an appointment. So we drove there for nothing. And just weird shit happens sometimes. I don't fucking know why. It just does. But like I said, you have good times and then you have bad times. I mean, that's just life. You can't control everything. It's just shit out of your control that you can't do anything about. Even if you try to do everything right, you try to, be ahead on time and, make good time. It's going, something's going to happen, eventually. It's going to be a traffic jam or something's going to break or wear down. You're going to have to end up waiting and losing more time. And, sometimes it's just not your fault. You can't, you know what I'm saying? So, but I'm about to get out here and walk around. I was going to do a live stream, but I just felt like doing it different today for whatever reason. So I'm going to just walk around. I didn't really walk around yesterday. I try to always, whenever I stop, get out and get some exercise, do some push-ups just to kind of, move around. Cause I don't think that it's just good to just drive and then just sit down once you stop somewhere. Just sit down on top of just sitting down all day. I'm like, okay, I got time to get out, gonna walk around, burn some calories, and then sit down, then go to sleep, then eat. Or if I eat, I'll walk around after that. But, truck lifestyle, you don't get much activity. So I feel like when you get a chance to get some exercise, it's like, get out, walk around. Like, that's why a lot of these guys, you see them like they gain weight, because you're not moving around. Like, you can move around. You can walk around. I walk around a parking lot, and like, you can do things to kind of mitigate like the lack of exercise. I think what they should start doing is putting gyms inside truck stops. I think that's a really good idea. Like, truck stops need gyms, so when you have time, maybe you on your 10 or whatever, however you do it, take an hour, even 30 minutes, 15, 20 minutes. You don't have to do it that long. But, get on the treadmill, burn some calories, and whatever else they got in there. But they need to start, for guys that are on the road a lot, having a way for them to, like, stay active. because truckers are one of they statistically they have one of the lowest lifespans, and I think just simply by like getting more physical activity could cut down on those statistics a whole lot. A lot of it may be sleep related, and I think it's diet too. Which I do think. I think I'm seeing some places that are doing a little bit better with having eating options. But really, you can just start packing your own shit because they got fridges in here. A lot of these trucks now, and microwaves. So I'm about to invest in getting me like a hot plate so I can, I got microwave, and then you can kind of cook shit on the skillet. Open the windows up, let the air out, and you can, plug it up to a 12 volt, and you can cook shit like eggs or onions, whatever, steak, whatever. And so you can. There's ways to be healthy. You can get healthy shit. You can pack your own food. You don't have to. And so they have some places that have good, good stuff, but a lot of these places it's just like, you got like pizza, which is okay sometimes, but like you start eating that shit every day, you're gonna turn into a fat son of a bitch. I'm sorry, it's not a nice way to say it. You can't eat pizza and burgers every day. Get some fruit, get some fucking grapes and strawberries and blueberries. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, we all eat junk food sometimes, but like every day, it's just like no, it's just not good for you. So, yeah, man, I'm trying to do better. You are what you eat. And I do believe there's still, very, very potential to make very good money in this industry, even just simply driving for companies. Everyone likes to, say, oh, you can't make money driving for companies. I mean, you're not going to make much money when you first start because you're probably slow as shit and you don't know what the fuck you're doing half the time. But I mean, after you get used to everything and you learn how to, do things the most time efficient way, you learn how to use your hours. I'm still figuring that shit out because this hour shit still fucks with me sometimes. But you learn how to maximize your time and, you work how to work the clock, basically make your clock work for you. You just start saving more time. You can get more loads done quicker. Like shit like that is where you really start to make your money, when you can get those loads, started and finished as quickly and efficiently as possible. Like that's when you really start to kind of maximize your earning potential. And then obviously like your years, the more experience you have, the company is going to see you more valuable because they feel more confident with you, doing shit because you know what the fuck you're doing. You're quicker, you got more experience, so of course you're going to get more pay. But like, yeah, I mean, starting out, you're not going to make a shit ton of money because you don't have anything. Like anything, I mean, it's just that's just how it is. Companies are going to just pay you more when they know you know what you're doing. So, and that just comes with time. I mean, you can't really rush that process because if you rush, then more than likely you're going to fuck up, and nobody really wants that. So, it is what it is. You got to just naturally get better by doing it every day, and you will. And I know I will, and I am. I'm getting better the more I do it. I still have trouble backing in sometimes, and the people in the truck stops look at you like you're a fucking dumbass because you're taking taking a little bit longer to back in. But hey, look, I'm being careful. I'd rather take longer to back in and hit your shit. So, and if I take too long, I'll get off to the side and let them go ahead and pass. You know what I'm saying? I get it. They don't have all day to fucking wait on me. That's why if I take more than like 2 or 3 tries, I'll just, reset, let them go by, because you don't want everybody just sitting there waiting on you. So, I mean, I try to be, reasonable about it. Even though I'm new, I still try to be like, okay, they still got to get through here, do what the fuck they got to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't expect everyone just to wait on me if I'm taking a while. But, if I'm taking, I'm backing in for the first time and I'm going slow, like, just calm the fuck down. Like, goddamn. Like, you can't wait 2 seconds. You got some people out here, they'll start they'll start saying shit over the CB and So saying little dumb slick shit. I don't give a shit, bro. Fuck off, man. Like you were new at one point in time too. It's like seriously, get over yourself. Like you had to figure out, you know what I'm saying? But I typically I don't let that shit get to me. I mean, there's some days where I get annoyed, but I'm just like, whatever. Like he'll be fine, you know. But like I said, it's just a part of the process. But yeah, I'm about to get out here and walk around and get some exercise, and hopefully this microphone you can hear me. Sorry, I was trying to see something. I don't think that, actually. Anyway, my bad. Yeah, I was actually trying to see if my chair in my truck actually swiveled. I don't know if it does or not. Just trying to see something. But yeah, man. Yeah, so I just felt like making a video. Hopefully y'all can hear me over the sound of these trucks. I am in Missouri right now. And again, originally I had planned on leaving out earlier, but I had some issues with my tire, and apparently I got a bad valve stem, and I had a technician come out here, but he did replace the valve stem, but the valve stem is still leaking. So his opinion is it's got something to do with the rim itself. Maybe it cracked, maybe it got too hot for some reason. Who the fuck knows? But it's still leaking, and legally I cannot drive with it like that, because if DOT catches me, I can be fined, I can be put out of operation. So that's I gotta just, it's crazy because even if DOT comes here to the actual truck stop, they can technically still like write me up for that shit. It's crazy. It's crazy how like strict they are on trucks. I can understand if you're riding around with an unsafe condition, but if you're waiting to get repaired, I think that's just pretty insane. What am I supposed to do if I'm on the road waiting to get repaired? What am I supposed to do? I do feel like the trucking industry is overly regulated to the point to where it kind of makes driving a little bit it's kind of a little bit, it makes it, I feel like driving trucks can be way more enjoyable, but with these clocks that you have to kind of go by, it can basically make it to where way more stressful than what it has to be. I don't really understand the whole hours of operation thing, because supposedly they did it to be more safe, but my whole thing is, just because you say that I have to stop and shut down by a certain time doesn't necessarily mean that I'm getting enough rest. It's just, a lot of things about the hours of operation and stuff like that just doesn't make sense to me at all. Like, I don't understand it, but they did it to supposedly, make it safer and to where, you're not driving too long and falling asleep. But even now, I find myself getting sleepy, still. So it ain't like, it's necessarily making things safer for you. So, you know, but I did have a topic to this video that I wanted to talk about while I'm on here. And seeing as how this is not a live video, I'm going to try to basically pretty much just kind of, whatever, But the topic was, it had to do with dating again. And so what made me want to talk about this topic is I was on social media earlier and I seen a post where somebody was talking about, I think, dating. And it was a post where somebody or a woman was basically calling a man sassy because the woman or the women in the post were complaining about men, not wanting to take women out and spend money on women. And, basically because men don't want to just blow money on women that they just met and they're getting to know. Women apparently feel, they feel offended by that. So, like, for example, maybe you can hear me, maybe you can't. But women feel offended by the fact that, a lot of men, they're not moving the same way that they used to. Instead of just automatically, spending money on dates and stuff like that, men are just being more discerning about, what they invest their energy and time into. So basically, as a man, instead of me just automatically just, blowing a bunch of money on a woman on a date, I'm like, before I start spending money on you, like, let me actually see if you're actually somebody I should be spending money on. You know what I'm saying? Let me see if I actually like you. Let me see if you're actually a decent woman that deserves, all these, nice things and, outings and trips and stuff like that before I just start, spending all this money in cash. Let me see if you're actually a decent person, And so a lot of men, because, it was just kind of, expected that if you're a man, because you're a man, you should just do these things because, you're a man and she's a woman. So that's what you're supposed to do. But again, a lot of men today, it's like, well, why should I do this? I said, I don't even know you. I don't even know if I actually even like you like that, And so men are, it's like men are being shamed, men are being called sassy because, we're not just out here just, well, here you go. Let me just blow, all this money on you because you're a woman and you have a vagina. And it's just like, well, that's cool, but it's like, I don't even know if I like you. You don't know if you like me. I don't know if I like you. Like, you could be a horrible person, but I'm just expected to do these things for you because you're a woman and I'm a man. It's crazy because, women claim that they want, equal treatment, but then they'll at the same time claim that they deserve all these, automatic privileges from men simply because they're a woman. I don't get that. If y'all are saying that we're equal, then be equal. Pay for your own shit, pay for your own meal, and once we feel like you deserve, meals and gifts and stuff like that, then we'll do that on our own accord. But to just say that you are entitled to free meals and gifts because I'm a man and that's what I'm supposed to do, I think that's retarded. If we're equal, then why do you have access to my monetary funds and benefits? That means that you think you're better than me, right? Like, if you can't go out with me on a date without me paying for your shit, that means you don't like me. If the only way you will spend time and get to know me is if I spend money on you, then that means you don't like me. That's what that means. And that makes the whole process easier because I'm not wasting my time or money on someone that doesn't even like me anyway. You see how that shit works? And that's why men do it. That's how men weed out and filter out women that don't even like them, that are trying to use them. But it's like we get called sassy because all we're trying to actually do is actually make sure this woman actually likes me and just isn't trying to use me for free shit. So, like, there's a method, there's a logic to why men move the way that we do. Men are moving that way because they're making sure that, hey, does this woman actually even like me? Or is she just trying to get shit out of me? Is she just trying to get free shit and free meals out of me? That's why we do that. But because we're trying to use common sense and be discerning, we get called sassy because from the get-go, we're not just up here just willy-nilly spending money on women. And so they don't try to shame men and call men broke and say that we don't deserve women because we're not just up here blowing money and taking them on expensive dates from the very beginning. We're not paying her bills and stuff like that. And it's like now it's become like the shaming thing where, well, you're a man, that's what you're supposed to like. No, that's not automatically. It's like, yes, I believe in men being leaders. I believe in men, doing stuff like that. But I don't believe in men doing stuff like that for any woman and for all women because all women don't deserve it. See, we got to get out of this whole mentality of because she's a woman or because she's pretty, that they're automatically entitled to benefits from men, right? And I get it. A lot of women, they're used to men just doing this kind of stuff because they're pretty, and there's men that will do it because they have money to do it. So women are a lot of, attractive women, and they're used to men that have, resources such as money or whatever to basically pay for it, basically. That's what it comes down to. A nice way of saying it is men, they're basically tricking on women that they find attractive. That's basically what it is. So women have become accustomed to like men just doing these things. So now modern women's standard has become, well, if I'm perceived as attractive or pretty, well, I'm entitled to money, I'm entitled to all these things because since that man did it, all men should do it. So now their standard of talking to any man is, well, if you want to talk to me because these men doing it or they're doing it or they did it, you got to do it too. And if you can't do it or you won't do it, well, he'll do it or he did it. And if you're going to do what he did, then you can't get me. So, and if you're not doing it, then you're called sassy or you're called broke, or the narrative is, you're not good enough, basically. And don't be unattractive or ugly, because then they feel like you don't deserve it, and if you do pay for it, you still don't deserve it. So there's all these double standards to dating and love and romance that I just, I see. And if you're a man that's conscious and aware, and you don't just freely give away your resources, you say, hey, I do nice things for women. I'm a man that's building myself up and getting to the point where I can do. And see, here's the thing: just because the men don't want to do that, it doesn't necessarily mean that they automatically can't. Some men can't do that. Some men can't just blow a ton of money on gifts and expensive restaurants because, no, they don't have that much money. But I believe that most men get there at some point in their life. Some men may get there earlier, but most men, if they're consistent with the effort that they're putting into their life, they'll get there. And I do believe that. It may take time, it may be slow, but you'll get there. As a man, if you're doing it right, because as a man, you understand that I ain't going to get shit out of this life unless I put some effort into it. It is what it is. And it's going to take time. It's going to take possibly failing. But if I just stay consistent and I put the work in, I'll get there. And this is one thing that, to me, separates most men from women is men understand that they have to put time and dedication into whatever it is that's going to take them to or lead them to a better quality of life. There's no way of getting around it. I'm not saying that no women don't do this, but a lot of women, my thing with women is they don't take any kind of accountability. 90% or more women cannot take accountability. And that even comes to taking accountability for the quality of their life and, how good or bad it is, And to me, that's the difference between men and women. Not all, there are exceptions, but most women, the quality of life that they want, or a lot of women at least, they feel like, they can get it by simply just dating a certain caliber of the man. A lot of women are not willing to go and, create that quality of life for themselves, But there are some though. So like I said, I'm not saying all. I'm just saying they're all not willing to do what it takes. And so when their life doesn't turn out the way they want it to, it ain't my fault. It's because I dated a deadbeat, or it's my ex's fault, or, I wasted time on the wrong man, or it's everybody's fault except for me, right? But most men, generally speaking, they get to a point where they realize, hey, listen, ain't shit gonna change unless I change it. Point blank, period. You just get to that point, it's either you're gonna do or you're gonna die. Either you're gonna figure some shit out, or you're gonna just rock out with how shit is and just keep it pushing. So that's basically my opinion on, the separation between men and women. Is men, we know that we have to go out and make shit happen. We have to figure shit out. I feel like life in the world, and generally speaking, is way less forgiving to men than it is for women. Women get more sympathy. Women can just, throw some pussy on some random guy, more than likely get a place to stay, maybe move back home. And some guys can too, to a certain extent. But women just have it easier because, again, women just use sex to get what they want. They just use guys to get to a certain position in life to where they can kind of leverage mostly sex to get what they want and to get where they want. That's what I've noticed, at least. Women manipulate men mostly via sex to get what they want, and men have to, and men do it too. Men manipulate women too. Usually with money to get sex. So I mean, it goes both ways. I ain't gonna cap. I mean, men do it too, but I just understand the dynamic. But getting back to the original main point is, men being shamed and called sassy because they're saying, well, hey, before I start doing all this type of stuff and blowing money on you, I want to actually know that I actually like you. And so, like, that's a problem. That's a problem because women nowadays, if you're not a man and if you're not just blowing money on women, you get shamed. You get called sassy. You get called, broke. They say, you don't deserve women and stuff like that. Because you're not just, freely just blowing money on women. And I don't understand that, because as a man, you should be very conscious of, what you're doing. Everybody does not deserve your energy. Every woman does not deserve, the resources of, your time and your effort. There's a lot of women out here that literally have men set aside, literally just for free food and free dates. And so men caught a hold of that, and men started becoming more aware. And so instead of just going out and dating and spending money on women that they liked, they started basically being more aware of, like, dang, does this woman actually like me or not? Like, does she actually like me, or does she just want a free date? Let me make sure that she actually likes me and isn't just trying to get a date. Let me make sure that she likes me and isn't just trying to get money out of me. And that's all men are doing. Men are not saying that, oh no, we're not going to do nice things for women. Men are not saying that, oh no, women don't deserve nice things to happen to them. No. All men are saying collectively is, I'm tired of giving my all to women that simply don't deserve it. In other words, I'm tired of being used. Let me make sure that, first of all, I'm putting that energy into myself first. And basically, I don't put that amount of energy or effort into anybody until I feel like they've proven that they deserve it. It's just a shift in how we've been doing things as men. And so women are kind of taken back by that. They're saying, well, men don't do what they used to. Men don't approach us. Men don't want to go on dates no more. And it's not that. It's just that, for whatever reason, men doing things the traditional way, it does not work anymore, because women have had a heyday and a field day with that. They've been, a lot of these men have been putting in lots of time and energy into getting to know women, and these women have not even been taking these men serious. They just enjoy the benefits of the dates and the gifts. And these women have absolutely zero, interest romantically in a lot of these men. They're getting dicked down by somebody else that isn't even putting in the time or the effort to take them out on dates and stuff like that. So you got one guy that's putting in all the time, energy, and money into getting to know a woman, and there's this other guy that she's more attracted to physically that isn't doing any of those things, but he's getting all the benefits like sex and her time and affection that this other guy isn't getting at all. So this is why men are evolving and doing things differently, because in today's world, men are finding that it does not serve them to do things in the traditional way. Yeah, way back when you could be a man, and yes, it was expected of you to, take a woman out, take her on dates, do nice things for her, but women, they have changed their behaviors. They have changed the way that they date. They have changed their mating strategy. And with the internet, that shit, you cannot get to know a woman like that. You cannot do that. And women, they have to understand that it has nothing to do with men hating women. It's just that men realize that doing things the traditional way, they are getting screwed badly, extremely badly. This has nothing to do with men hating women. Oh, let's hate women. And no, it's just realizing that, with a changing world, with women changing, men are changing as well. You have to evolve because women have evolved, and so men are evolving. We're just simply adapting to the way that things are done, and you can't be mad at men for that. Why would you, as a man, keep doing shit the same way if you see that it doesn't serve you? If you seeing that something does not benefit you, why would you keep doing things the same way? See, women, they expect us as men to do that because it benefits them. But if you were a woman and you seen that doing something you were getting screwed over by doing it a certain way, why would you keep doing it that way? And that's all that it really is. That's the biggest thing. And that's something that, women just, they will not accept. They will not accept that, but they don't have a choice. The same way that we as men didn't have a choice, that women changed and women are operating differently. Like, women have to understand that men are also changing and men are also doing things differently as well. And that's all it comes down to. So, I mean, you can call me sassy if you want to. You can call me sassy because, I actually speak on these kinds of topics and stuff like that. I get called sassy simply because I talk about it. Even if you're a man and you talk about these topics in the way that I do, you're called sassy. You're saying that you ain't manly, and I'm like, hey, you don't have to agree with me. You can say whatever you want to, but at the end of the day, I'm a human being, and I have my own thoughts, my own opinions, and my own views, whether you like them or not. You don't have to agree with everything that I say, but I'm still going to say it. So, I find these topics to be very interesting and enlightening, and even controversial. And I don't have any problem with being controversial because, life can be very controversial. So, again, a lot of women, they'll take what I'm saying and, they'll try to shame me or shame men like me and, talk down to me, and even other men will, try to shame me or shame men because in their eyes, you're just someone complaining because, oh, women don't like you or women don't want you, or, you're just jealous, and say whatever you want to say. But I know for a fact that there are tons of men that think and believe exactly the way that I do. Men that look like me, men that don't look like me, men that get bitches, men that don't get bitches. This is not something that just lame niggas that can't get bitches and pussy are talking about. Even though, people think that guys that make these talking points and talk about this kind of stuff are just lame niggas that don't get coochie, that don't get bitches, because this is what they'll do. This is how they try to shame you. If you speak about these things, first thing they want to try to do is basically completely dismiss your points and try to basically brush you off and use shaming tactics and make you feel like, oh nah, you're just mad because you don't get bitches, you don't get pussy, and you're broke, you're a loser, so nothing you say even matters. That's what they do. This is like their typical argument mindset when any man like me or talking like me says anything. Like if you're a man and you talk like this, like you're automatically put in a bracket of, oh well, no, you're just a loser, you don't matter, you're just jealous, you're a hater. And I'm like, that's not true. That's not true. And it's just crazy to me how women want this equal treatment, but they jump at dehumanizing men every chance they get. Every chance they get, they dehumanize men, and they don't listen. They don't ever want to hear out a man that they perceive as, less than, or, whether he's not, attractive or whatever. Like, they try to, automatically put him in this reference point of, or this narrative of, well, he's a loser. That's why he's saying what he's saying. Like, women, they'll dehumanize the fuck out of you as a man if you say anything that they don't like or that makes them uncomfortable. And so will other men. If they just feel like they're better than you or more attractive than you, they will literally say, oh, well, he's just saying that because he's jealous of guys like me that get bitches and pussy. Human beings are very, 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 we're nowhere near as evolved as we claim to be. We're nowhere near as evolved as we claim to be. We are just really good at, presenting ourselves in a certain way to where we seem or look more, but we're not. Human beings are not, especially men. Well, I mean, men and women. We're nowhere near as evolved as we think we are. Nowhere near. Like, it's crazy. Crazy. That's a wide load. But yeah, so anyway, I'm not going to make this video too much longer. I think that it's important that we as men talk about this kind of stuff because, again, most men, if you are perceived a certain way and you talk about these things, and I've said this in other videos, you're automatically, he's just lame, he don't get bitches, and it's like, most people are just so unevolved when it comes to even talking about these things. You know, just so unevolved. Women, are, in my opinion, they're nowhere near as mature as they try to make it seem. Women are extremely immature when it comes to talking about anything that holds them accountable in any way at all. It's like the first thing they try to do is just shame you and make you feel bad for whatever opinion you're trying to express. Because as a man, you're not even supposed to have any feelings. Like they always say, your sole job as a man is to provide. You don't get to complain. You don't get to have an opinion. It's just you're a man, so you're supposed to be a provider. And if you get rewards for that, you do. And if you don't, you don't. Shut up, provide, and, give me what I want. As a man, you don't even have a say. It's just do what I want as a man and, don't have an opinion, don't have standards. Don't you dare as a man have standards. Don't you dare. Especially if you ain't fine. If you ain't fine, you don't get to actually have standards and actually, hold women accountable. If you ain't 6'4" or 6'5", you don't get to have boundaries and standards. And it's crazy, but it's the truth. It's the fucking truth. If you express any type of, anything that you have a problem with women when it comes to women as a man, you're sassy. You're a lame. You don't get pussy because you have a problem, or you're complaining. I love this one. You're acting like a female. Like the first opportunity that a woman gets to shame a man and try to demasculate him for actually having a fucking opinion and speaking about it and saying something. That's what they do. I've just noticed that pattern, that trend. It's like this is how women try to shame men into accepting shit that they shouldn't as men be accepting. It's let me shame him, let me try to find a way to make him feel like a loser. This is what they do. This is how women try to fuck with you mentally by doing little stupid shit like that. Let me just make him feel like he's lame because, he has a point, but I'm going to just make him feel like he's just lame and he can't get bitches, he can't get pussy. Let me try to shame him and make him doubt himself. Because he's actually right, but I don't want him to know that because, then that would actually lead to me having to be more accountable and more responsible. So instead of doing that, let me just shame him, make him feel like maybe he just is a loser and make him doubt himself instead of me actually listening and trying to understand or listening to understand. Let me just, deny, because that's way better than me actually having to change or take accountability. Why be accountable when I can just deny it and not change anything and get my way and get what I want? Let me just shame him and make him think that he's crazy instead of actually doing what it takes to actually be accountable, for my own actions, So, yeah. But this is how they are, though. This is how they are. So, yeah, man. Like I said, I know for a fact that there's men that appreciate these talking points in these videos, and then there's men that are going to say, "Oh, nah, you're just a loser. You don't get bitches. You don't get pussy." It's just, I know that there's will always be those voices, those men, those women that feel like, I'm just so much better than those kind of guys because, I'm just, financially on this level where they can never get the kind of bitches I get. They can never get the kind of pussy I, and it's all just ego. It's all just this mental thing that people do to try to just feel like they're on this level, that they're so much better, than other people. And it's all about maintaining a certain, you know, illusory ego constructs where you just need to feel so superior than somebody else to the point that you dehumanize them and forget that we all want the same shit here, and say shit like, oh, you know, he just ain't willing to put in the work that I do. He don't work as hard as me, so he don't deserve to get pussy and get the kind of women I get. And it's like, dude, how do you know that? How do you know how hard I work? I've been working since I've been 16. I've been working 2 jobs for years. But these kinds of men and women will automatically say, well, you don't deserve women, you don't deserve pussy, blah, 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 and automatically just, you know, make these assumptions about you, call you lazy, like you're just some loser that just sits around and doesn't want to put the work in, so therefore you don't deserve pussy, you don't deserve relationships. Meanwhile, these same niggas and bitches was getting pregnant by Pookie and Ray Ray, by dudes that probably didn't even have a job, but they just were physically attracted to them, so it's okay, basically. Double standard. Double standard. It's just crazy to me how the standards change when a woman finds a man attractive. If she finds a man attractive, this man could be fucking homeless, literally. And he will fuck this nigga. She will fuck this nigga raw. But don't be that attractive. Don't be that tall. Be average looking. And as that man, don't be rich and see how you're judged and critiqued on for not having the perfect lifestyle or the perfect financial situation. These same women will talk about you like dog shit if you're not rich or can like provide the most lavish lifestyle. This is why I've got to the point that I've gotten to, because I see everything clearly. And when you see everything clearly, you just don't play about, you know, letting people shame you and manipulate you into going along with a certain narrative, because you know it's bullshit. You know it's bullshit. And this is why I'm called negative, because I see shit for what it is. I see the hypocrisy. I see how good men, good, honest, working men are treated like shit. And I call it out, and people don't like that. When you are a person that's honest and you call shit out, you get shamed. This is like what the Bible said. When you're actually a genuine person, you're taken as the exact opposite. You know, you're spat on, metaphorically speaking. And people just don't like you. Because when you are a person that breaks down people's illusions, that people don't like that shit. They cannot stand that. When you see shit as it really is, and you're like, I see what you're doing, and I know that you're trying to mentally fuck with me, like, and I'm calling you out on it, and I'm not going along with that narrative, oh, people will fucking hate you. Oh my God, they will hate you. They'll call you bad names. They'll talk bad about you. And these are even like the spiritual people. They not know better. They'll try to shame you, and all because you're honest and you see through the lies of just all of it, you know. And so like I've just gotten to the point to where I'm just like, okay, say what you want to say about me, but I know the truth. You cannot take away the fact that I know the truth and I see the truth for what it is. You can say whatever you want to say about me, but you cannot take away the fact that I know. And I'm never going to allow anybody to mindfuck me into going along with a narrative that I know is not true. Like, I know it's not true. I know the narrative about modern dating isn't true. I know the narrative about just generally speaking, like, your self-worth isn't true. How the world tries to make you feel like nothing you do, if you're not in a certain bracket or if you're not perceived a certain way, whether it's just looks or attractiveness, physical attractiveness, how nothing you do in the dating arena will ever be seen as enough. You will always be made to feel like whatever you accomplish is inadequate, and you're just, I see through all of it, like all of it. And, I'm at a place in my consciousness and my evolution to where I have ripped down, when you truly rip down all the walls of everything, even spirituality, oh man, my God, people are not going to like you. People are not going to like you. This is why I actually rejoice when I know that people don't like me, when I see people calling me negative because I see through all the lies. I'm like, they're just threatened because I can see. I can truly see, and that pisses them off. Especially women. Not just women, but because, see, when you're a man and you don't go along with that system and you're saying, like, that's not true. What you're trying to get me to believe and how you're trying to get me to perceive myself and the world, I know that's not true. I know that's not true. And you keep trying to convince me that there's something wrong with me. And there's nothing wrong with me. I just can see. I can see that you're lying. I can see that the people that are like you are lying. And all you're trying to do is create this narrative that serves you and fucks me up in the head. It does nothing to benefit me, believing and seeing the world the way you want me to see it. It does nothing for me but fuck me up. And I didn't actually start to get better until I started calling all this shit bullshit. When I was trying to go by these standards and narratives, I was sick. I did not get better. I'm talking about the spiritual shit, dating, my love life. When I just started calling out all this shit for being bullshit, including a lot of the spiritual shit, that's when I started to heal. When people started calling me negative because I could see, to me, that's when I started to really hit. I'm like, ain't none of this shit really relevant. None of this shit that people are telling me, including a lot of the spiritual shit, none of this shit is relevant. None of this shit is true. None of it's true. And that's when my healing came. All this other shadow work, all this other shit that people say, oh, you gotta heal. None of that shit helped me. None of that shit healed me. I've been trying this shit for years. Years. And none of it helped me. Until I started seeing all of this shit and calling out everybody on their shit. And I realized internally, like, y'all are awful shit. Nothing that you're telling me is helping me. The only thing that helped me was realizing that this shit is all bullshit. And then I don't have to live up to any of this shit. Because none of this shit is actually helping me. Ain't nothing fucking changing. That's when it just clicked. Like, y'all don't really get what I'm saying, but if you really get what I'm saying, like, you will understand that's real healing. Real healing is truly seeing and understanding that all of this stuff that you're being told by society, by the spiritual community, all these people, if you're a man, women, if you're a woman, other men, that there's something wrong with you because you are how you are and that you need to fix yourself. There is nothing wrong with you, I promise you. It's just that people are threatened by people that, because you are a type of person, when you really see, you really fuck shit up. And I mean, you fuck shit up in a way where you collapse old constructs, ideologies, without even fucking trying to, because in other words, when you can truly see through an illusion, you destroy that shit. Not physically, but mentally, it crumbles because it was a dream that you were actually believing was real. And when you're like realizing none of this shit's fucking real or relevant, none of this shit that these people are telling me has any real weight in reality outside of me actually believing it. And it does something to reality itself. People start acting weird. Like I said, people start fucking hating you. And guess what? I don't give a fuck. Bro, I don't care. I'm like, you don't like me, good. That's how I know I'm doing something right. I was living under these ideas that there was something wrong with me. And I'm like, there was never anything wrong with me. There was never anything wrong with you. There was never anything. You were never the problem. You know, you were never the problem. The whole joke is that the reason you were dealing with what you were dealing with was for the fact that you were actually convinced that you were the problem. And once you realize that I'm not the problem, because I did everything that these people told me to do, and it made shit worse. No matter what I did, nothing worked. Their advice made me feel worse and made me feel less deserving, less like I wasn't enough. Like nothing I did was good enough. Constantly trying to fix myself and make myself enough, make myself more positive, make myself more high vibrational. And it was never going to be enough. The whole point was to just keep you trying to be enough. You were never supposed to actually believe and feel like you were enough. That's the lie. That's the joke. That's the joke. So anyway, I want to end this video. Hope you guys got something from it. I got my exercise in. And guys, women, men, because this ain't just for men. This could be for women too. You know, I'm not this, I'm not against women. I don't hate women. I hate a lot of how this society expects men to be, and a lot of what they expect men to deal with as men. But I don't hate women. I fucking love women. I adore women. I just, as a man, as a sentient, fully awakened being, I just see through a lot of shit, and I just can't be that same person that just accepts a lot of these same beliefs and ideologies. I can't, because I'm too aware. I don't think I'm better than anybody. I'm just aware of shit on a different level. And again, that disturbs people. That disturbs. It's just the nature of being aware in that way. It just disturbs shit. I can't help it. And I'm not going to try to make myself into a version of myself just so people will, approve me and how I see things. I'm not going to bend my awareness to where it doesn't bother people. Because nobody ain't doing that for me. So why would I do it for somebody else? It's like, hey, people have a problem with who I am. It's like, hey, it is what it is. It is what it is. So, yeah, I'm about to end this video, y'all. I hope you got something from it. Until next time, peace. Take it easy.